beyond the wormhole.
Being scanned by one of the satellites.
Shields up.
It's firing.
On the other side of the galaxy,
Hold on, we're going down.
a living hell is about to be discovered,
That could be 20 light years from here. We wouldn't have the first clue.
where death has little meaning
We're in the middle of a pretty ugly war.
because no one ever dies.
We're all prisoners on this moon. Major!
On the next episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true,
Even the lies.
especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government,
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast, a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of newbies watching Deep Space Nine for the very first time, and a group of oldbies who are watching it for the umpteenth time. And we are here today to talk about battle lines. I'm Scott, and with me is
Emily.
Christopher.
Prentice.
Nicole. And Jessi.
And before we get started, my usual shills. First off, thank you to all of you who have been listening and watching the show. We passed 10,000 plays last week, so that's a great way to start out, and we're continuing to grow every week, so we really do appreciate it. Continue to share, like, subscribe, follow, and also leave reviews. Those are the big things that really do help us grow. We did get another review in. This comes from Zoltan Wood Design. I have no idea what that is, but they say, riveting fun. After arriving late to the appointment pod recaps of Bab 5, I'm faithfully rewatching Deep Space Nine because of you and getting so much more out of watching 30 years later with the newbies and the prophets. Delightfully fun and often blue. I won't miss an episode. I don't know which one of us is blue. I'm guessing he means blue collar, but I don't know.
Blue as in like blue comedy. So like it's
Oh, so okay. Thank you. I appreciate that because I'm not hip. I won't miss an episode. Ugh, move along home. ... And found that What We Left Behind, the documentary, and I inhaled it. Thank you. Hoping for interviews. Keep up the great work. So glad for you all in my weekly listen as I work painting in my studio. P.S. Team Jadzia! ! Thank you, Zoltan. I want to know what you paint now. So get on our social medias and share what you paint. That'd be great. You can also find our links to Facebook. Look at that. I transitioned there. You can find our links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, even though I don't upload anything because no one ever sees it because TikTok hates me. Do all of that. Click all the buttons. And a special thank you to our Patreon members who have been supporting the show and helping us grow even more. Those who give the highest donation every single month are listed down below as our producers. So thank you for that. If you do join our Patreon, you also get access to our Discord, which we have both a spoiler section and a general conversations section. So please go over there and join as well. We appreciate all of the help. Okay, we're going to dive into battle lines. Nicole, I believe you have a synopsis for us.
I do. A runabout carrying Kai Opaka crashes on a planet of eternal war where it is impossible for the combatants to die.
And she meets a guy from Breaking Bad.
Is that who that was?
Yes!
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Oh,
It reminded me of like a
and
bad
Better
guy.
Call Saul.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. I'm like, I've seen this guy somewhere, probably on an ad or a commercial.
He's been in multiple movies for a while.
He does. Yeah, he does a lot of stuff. And now I'm blanking on his name, which I will pull up right now. Jonathan Banks. He is best known, I think, from Breaking Bad, but he was also the bad guy in the first Beverly Hills Cop. So
Oh,
you're an
that's
80s
probably
fan.
where I recognize him from then.
Okay, let's go ahead and start talking to our newbies about their impressions with the episode, and then we'll go from there. So, Christopher, your first impressions for Battle Lines.
So this was the best episode since A Man Alone, in my opinion, if not in the entire season so far. I was happy that O'Brien of the Enterprise became Chief O'Brien from DS9. You know, this was the first episode where he felt like he was really part of the crew and not just there to be a familiar face for those coming over from TNG. So I appreciated that, and it made me like him a little bit more. And, you know, I really liked this episode. And after the last few episodes that we've seen, this was a nice surprise.
It was nice. Excellent. Jessi, first impressions. You're laughing at Christopher now.
It was nice. Well, I didn't know that I was in an episode of Deep Space Nine, but the amount of times that I was like, holy fuck, Jessi, get off the screen when Kira was like yelling. Things I learned today. I was in Deep Space Nine and I didn't know it. Kai Opaka is a space Jesus. And let's see. Oh, Kira's an ugly ass crier.
Man, you gave Kira props and also gave her crap in the same little impression.
Probably an ugly crier too. So that's probably another thing that we have in mind or in common. But yeah, no, thank you.
Nicole, first impressions.
I like the episode. I will say though, this is the first time that I ever watched a show like this where I actually kind of predicted what was going to happen. Like, as you guys know, if you were with us on B5, I'm not very observant and I'm a little aloof, right? And I really thought this episode, like, it was pretty predictable. And I kind of called a bunch of stuff like that was going to happen. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, oh, I called that. Oh, I called that. So I was actually very proud of that. But overall, I really liked it. Those people, the Ennis and the, what is the other one called? The
Null Ennis, which
Null
actually
Ennis.
means not Ennis.
Yeah.
It's
So the Ennis people reminded me of like a Mad Max Fury kind of like, I just remember watching that movie as a kid, which I probably shouldn't have. And those guys reminded me of the people in that movie in a way, a little less savage. But so I was kind of like, all right, well, this is kind of sort of apocalyptic-ish, weird Mad Max cave people. But as it went on, you kind of got to know them a little bit better and why they were the way they were. I had some thoughts about kind of how it ended and how it went.
so
But
did
yeah.
Kai Opaka. She had some thoughts too.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I have some thoughts on that too. But anyway, I liked getting to see all of the characters a little bit more open, a little bit more vulnerable. You know, Kira, Bashir had a little bit more to chew on in this one. So it was nice. I liked it.
Now we'll go over to our prophets. I do like that, Zoltan. So thank you for calling us that. I appreciate it. Prentice, first impressions.
First impression, great episode. I like the religious aspect of the episode. And I think this episode does a good job just talking about faith. And you kind of knew Kai Opaka knew this was going to be her last journey. You can see in her face, you see how the actress carried it, that she was going towards her destiny. So for me, I like that aspect of it, that she was fated to help these two warring clans to work out their issues. And that was going to be the rest of her life work. So I thought that was interesting. Also want to lift up, we have another actress in the episode that's been in a bunch of movies, and especially a lot of Star Trek episodes over the years. Patricia Tallman. She's been in multiple episodes of Trek, and she was in the great remake of Night of the Living Dead that came out in 1990.
And our folks from our former podcast know Pat Tallman very well because she was on.
Wait, was she in this episode?
Oh, for God's sakes.
Which one was she? How did I miss that?
She played one of the Ennis's, Nima.
Damn it. I thought that, okay. I was like, why does that lady look familiar?
Which actually makes sense because Pat Tallman started out as a stunt person and still does a lot of stunt work. And so one of the reasons why she played one of these characters is because there's a lot of stunts in this episode.
Shout out to Pat, our girl.
And Pat's from Illinois. I didn't know that. She's from Pontiac, Illinois.
Yeah.
Really? Dang.
Okay. And she was also the stunt double for the doctor on Jurassic Park. I forgot her name. The blonde doctor in the first Jurassic Park.
Has anybody ever been to Pontiac, Illinois?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get down there.
Portion.
It's a small shithole with a prison. That's about all that's there.
Well, it's because they got rid of Pat Tallman. She went to Hollywood and it all went to shit.
The only good thing to come out of there.
Yeah. I mean, if they said that she was from like one of the Chicago suburbs, I'd be like, oh yeah. So
My ex-sister-in-law lived in Pontiac, so I agree. That's Pat Tallman's the only thing to come out of Pontiac that was good.
I had a friend that
Hi,
was
Anna.
from there.
Damn, Scott, savage.
Emily, would you like to give your first impressions?
I like it. It's a good episode. I do like that we get to see a little bit more of like Bajoran religion and culture through this. And I find it interesting when they're in the shuttlecraft going through the wormhole and Kai Opaka's talking about like prophecies and uncertainty and how you don't always know how to interpret them until they kind of happen. I really like that portion of it because it gives more background into their belief system.
Yeah, and all of you kind of hit on my major points. Jessi, to your point, I love the cold open with Kira, the fact that they found her file and, oh yeah, my file's gonna be fine. What?
Dude, that was me all day long. Like, no, it's fine. Just tell me. I don't care. I can handle it. And then I lose my absolute shit. Yeah.
And Camille Saviola is the actor who plays Kai Opaka. You know, we've been told that the Kai basically led Bajor out of the Cardassian occupation. She was the one who did it. And Kira says in this episode too, we relied on her to be our leader. And you see that in the portrayal. I mean, the first time we see her on the promenade and she's waiting for the wormhole to open and it's not due to open for a while. She just gives Cisco a look and just waits and just stares at his ass until he's like, okay, let's open the wormhole for her. I really enjoyed that actor and how she portrayed the Kai. So let's go ahead and start chatting. So who wants to start? Nicole.
So I kind of want to start with the Kai Opaka. So when she came to the station and, you know, they went out on the adventure, Emily just was kind of talking about how she was like, you know, you don't know your fate until you face it and all this other stuff or whatever. I kind of had a feeling that she knew she was going to die or she knew that it was the end because she was like insisting that they go there. I will say that I thought things were predictable, but the one thing I did not predict is that she would come back to life. So when she died and Kira was giving the speech about how she was their symbol of hope or whatever, in my head, I'm thinking, but she knew all along. Like she was the one who pushed to go there. She was the one who pushed to investigate and then she died. I feel like she knew that her time was up and this was where she was supposed to go. But like, I don't think anyone else kind of realized that until at the end when she said her speech.
Prentice.
Yeah, I want to tap in with Nicole, what she was saying. She was portraying that in a way that it lets you know she knew she was scared. She knew that she was going to die or something was going to happen to her. It reminded me of the story you're talking about Jesus in the garden. He knew he was going to die. He talked to God. He's like, please take this cup from me, X, Y, and Z. So on Opaka, the actress that played it, you could really tell that she was trying to really feel through this notion that I've seen my future. I know my fate. I'm probably not going to make it. I'm going to be brave enough to face my future despite whatever may happen. I'm ready to accept that fate. So I thought she did a great job of portraying that in an episode.
Christopher.
The Kai is a religious figure. I like how when she came on board, like how the reaction that Major Kira was having. Now I've gone and seen the Pope, and I was excited. I was buzzing like for a week before. So to be like that close to someone like that, I can't imagine like what was going through like Kira's mind, you know. And then when she came to the realization that the Kai was going to die and she was going to have to stay there, you know, how that must have felt for her, because her hero saying, this is my new mission, this is what I have to do, I have to help these people, I've helped Bajor, now I have to help here. And for Kira to understand that, I think you really saw some growth from her. And that was another one of my notes, was that the growth that Kira had in this episode, to where she said, I just want peace. I'm done fighting. When I first came on this podcast in past prologue, and I said that her conversion to being a supporter of the Federation felt forced and felt too quick, I get it now, because I've been with people who have served for a long time through a seemingly endless war, and I have seen them change, myself included, from being someone who was gung-ho military, ready to fight, ready to put everything on the line, to what is it all worth if we don't have peace? And I get Kira's change now.
Prentice.
I wanted to also mention in that same vein that when we see Kira wrestle the fact she is trying to be a woman of peace after committing so much violence in her life, and she is so embarrassed to show Opaka who she really is and say, I'm not this woman. Please don't think of me this way. I've changed. But Kai Opaka of shows her that, no, you're still dealing with this. You still have violent tendencies in your spirit. And I'm trying to help you to recognize this in yourself so you can let it go and move forward. So I love that kind of conversation about the past of Kira. How are you a resistance fighter now working in the bureaucracy, right? Those dynamics are so strange. It must be strange for her to deal with the fact I used to be a freedom fighter. Now I do reports. I report to superiors. I have to clock in, clock out. That kind of dynamic is interesting when you examine her character.
With that whole growth with her and that sequence of her realizing that she still had that violence in her, and Opaka was like, you have to forgive yourself, you know? I thought that was a really beautiful scene. She is an ugly crier, but I do think that she had an epiphany. But at the end, when Opaka said to her, you know, I'm gonna help them begin to heal like I helped you begin to heal today, kind of thing. I think we're gonna see this is maybe a prediction, but I'm thinking we're gonna see maybe a different side of Kira, or maybe she's gonna start to change or grow a little bit more, because I feel like it's hard to ignore that conversation and that epiphany that she had with Opaka. So I don't personally, I can't reconcile how the show will continue without her growing and her kind of reconciling some of her past and moving forward and healing, like Opaka said. So I'm really interested to see kind of what's next for her arc, because I feel like this was a turning point for her in a way that we're going to see maybe a different side of her. But I think that Opaka was right on, hit the nail on the head about she has to forgive herself before she can heal and move forward. Because how many times have we been in that situation where like we're holding on to something, or we're letting something eat us away that we need to let go in order to move forward. It was very realistic in a sense of this is something that people can relate to. So I really also liked that, and I appreciated that part of the story as well.
Jessi.
I think it's interesting that you guys heard forgiveness, because maybe she did say the word forgive, but my brain said that she needs to accept it. You need to accept what's inside of you, not forgive it because it's there and you do what you got to do in times of war. Times that you have to make those hard decisions. You're going to do what you got to do, and not forgiving it because I don't know. I just didn't maybe see it as a forgiveness thing. I saw it as a embrace it, accept it, not saying that you're going to like take it and run with it and like turn into the guys that were like stabbing through each other. I think that you need to accept it and embrace it over forgive it.
Yeah, and Jessi, you're spot on. I was going to call the same thing out. I've actually got the script pulled up here. Opaka says, don't deny the violence inside of you, Kira. Only when you accept it can you move beyond it. So it's not a matter of forget it or anything like that. Is realize that that's a part of you and that's okay, but you have to recognize it and move forward.
She showed just how capable of a warrior she is. That's not something that is going to go away. And I have a feeling that skill set is going to come in handy somehow, because it wouldn't be highlighting it that much that she's able to take charge and be that much of a tactician if that wasn't something that they're setting up.
I definitely think that the skill set is worth more than just in battle, because like I admire her drive and her spirit. She stands up for what she needs to stand up for, regardless of whether like people think that it's right or not. And when Cisco was telling her to be quiet, she was like, yeah, fuck all that. Like, we're not doing any of that. And she kept going. And I like, boy, Jessi, I need you to just have a seat because you're going to dig yourself a hole that you don't need to today. And more times than not, maybe I'm just trying to pat myself on the back here because like, that's me hands down. Like I will open mouth, insert foot, no matter fucking what, doing it. Let's get it over with. Like, you guys need to hear this. So watching her, she's such a strong personality and she's such a big, like, she's a big character. She like takes up a lot of room. And as another woman of my age who takes up a lot of room, I also appreciate that when I see it on TV. So her skill set is just worth so much more to this station than I think just outside of battle.
Yeah, and I'm not limiting it towards battle. She is clearly somebody who can take command and be in charge of the situation, regardless of what it is.
That's not easy to do. Like I watch people on a daily basis who try to do that, but they don't have it. You can learn to be the person you need to be in the situations, but some people it just comes naturally. And it seems like to her, she's just a very natural leader. She's a natural, not just leader, but like she's naturally comfortable with giving those directives and like saying the words that she's saying. She's got to be similar to that in real life because like either she's one hell of an actress or she's just a big personality in general. And I don't know her anything else she's been in, but
The Non Visitor she's great. She actually just authored a book about women women in Star Trek. So I haven't read it yet, but she basically looked over the entire Star Trek franchise from beginning to current, and apparently it's really good. So
it was a birthday gift to myself that's on my to read list.
Nicole.
Well, another thing I liked about this, and this is just my interpretation, but I thought it was a really great reminder and a good example of we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace and understand that we have to do what we have to do sometimes. And also a great reminder to never be quiet and always stand up for yourself and don't cower or make yourself small for anybody. Because like you said, even when Cisco told her to be quiet, she's like, no, I don't think so. And how many times have we all been in situations where maybe we held back or made ourselves quiet or whatever to make it less uncomfortable? I like to call myself a recovering people pleaser. Even though I am not afraid to speak my mind, I also had a hard time with saying no to things and like kind of putting my foot down and setting boundaries. So it was a really good reminder, I thought, for anybody is hard on themselves, which I'm also very hard on myself too. So I really thought it was a great relatable example and reminder that anybody could take, no matter what walk of life or what you're going through, age, whatever. I like to take these episodes and things that I watch and kind of relate them to situations or real life. That's kind of how I connect to things. And this was just like I feel even more connected to that character now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm glad you all are having this really good conversation with Kai Opaka. This is actually behind the scenes one of the reasons why I love Deep Space Nine more so than any other Trek. So when this was first written, because this is one of the scripts that was kind of hashed out in the first initial wave as they were putting the series together. Originally, it was going to be a moon with Cardassians and humans. They moved away from that pretty quick because they didn't want our heroes picking sides between the two. So they picked this, they had the alien of the week. But the big change that they made too was originally to find out that the nanites, or whatever you want to call them, had the drawback of making it to where you had to stay there once you died. That was actually going to be some red shirt. And for those who don't know what a red shirt is, it is an expendable character on Star Trek. So it was going to be somebody we just met who dies, comes back, but oops, you got to stay. And then the reason why I think Deep Space Nine is better than that is because they said, no, we have to give this stakes. It can't just be somebody we haven't met. And like, okay, who do we have that we could make this impactful, but also is not on contract for 6 years? Oh, the Kai. We can bring her back and do it. I bash on other Treks a lot, and I don't mean to, but I think if this was a TNG episode, it would have been a red shirt. But Deep Space Nine's like, we need to do something different. We need to have stakes. And so they brought the Kai back and left her on a moon. Nicole.
You know what, Scott? I definitely feel like it was more, it did what it was supposed to do, because I really felt like sad that she was going to stay there. I mean, she felt like she was fulfilling her purpose, which is great, but I felt like kind of sad for everybody else and just sad for her that she was going to be stuck there. But one thing I did catch at the very end, which I'm curious, is when she says to Cisco, I'll see you again. What does that mean? So you can put that in the questions for later.
Emily, take a note.
All right, well, then you have to go to her first because I'm putting that down.
Yes, ma'am. Christopher.
With the Kai staying back on the moon, I just want to know who the hell is going to tell the rest of the Bajorans that their leader, that their religious leader is, has died, came back to life, and has to stay on the moon. Otherwise, she's going to die again. And that it was her first time off planet. And
she even tells Cisco, I don't get out often.
Yeah, but trust the Federation. No problems. Just when your leader comes to us, they die.
There's actually, I don't know if this clip exists, but there was a blooper that Avery Brooks made when they're on the promenade and they're in the runabout and he says, we'll reach the wormhole in about an hour, which was a mistake. He just, flubbed it. And then Camille, who plays Kai Opaka, says, I don't have an hour. I have about 15 minutes. Let's go.
Odo, I felt sorry for him. He was the one reporting back to the Bajorans all the concerns that Chris just talked about. Like, you have her on the moon? What are you doing? So he has to be the one to deliver the news like, hey guys, I'm sorry. We left her on the planet.
We broke the Kai. I apologize.
I apologize. But you know what? She died and she came back to life, but it's okay. You can maybe visit her every now and man. Let's come back to Major.
If you come and visit her, some Mad Max guys may hatch at your head. So just be prepared for that.
Mad Max men who don't care whether or not that their war ends, because what are the stakes?
Yeah, well,
they die and they come back.
Shelah calls that out. He's like, when you no longer fear death, war changes.
Yeah, like, because I mean, their complacency that Kira was calling out was just all based on the fact of who cares if they kill me? Because in 10 minutes I'm gonna wake up and everything's gonna be fine. And it like, but they keep fighting, and they did not want to talk. They did not trust one another, and they've been fighting for so long they don't really remember why. And but who cares? Because they can just die and continue the fight.
Yeah, it was like a really shitty version of Groundhog Day. What I also thought was interesting is at the end, obviously, when they meet with the Noel Ennis, they decide no and they have the fight or whatever. But then at the very end, when Cisco offers to like have Bashir work on like a remedy for the microbiome thing or whatever, they're like, yes, give it to us and then we'll live and they'll die and da 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 da. And so it's like they don't want, like, they're not ready to make the change yet. They don't want to make the change yet. So it was just kind of like doubling down on like their apathy at this point of like, and they're like, I want to be righteous with this.
They have eternal life, but it's this purgatory of war.
Yes, it's hell.
It's a cycle of death and nihilism, all just kind of wrapped into one. It's depressing.
Set, the same cave set we've seen.
I told you we're going to get a lot of work out of the cave set. Actually, no, this was not the cave set. This was, I believe, Studio 18 or Stage 18 on the Paramount lot. The other interesting thing about this, I mentioned, Prentice, you mentioned Pat Tolman, and I said there's a lot of stunts in here. For 2 days of the filming, they actually had the stunt coordinator be the director, because all it was they're going to fight for 2 days. So he was the first unit director, and the director, Paul Lynch, apparently just sat there for 2 days reading a magazine and saying, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. Good job. He had 2 days off.
Hey, good for him. He got paid to sit there.
The stunt coordinator was Dennis Matalone, whatever. But yeah, he basically said this was the only time I ever got to be a true director, because the other director was reading a magazine the whole time. And actually, I was going to ask Jessi about this, because Jessi, you've called out a couple times about fighting on Star Trek, and it's basically pew pew laser beams. How'd you feel about the axes and saws and spears?
I literally said, hey, at least we have some real weapons in this one. We still have the little remote controllers though.
I did like Stella's makeup. He's got that big old scar down the side of his face, and actually they did the scar through his eye as well too. That looked really nice.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
What else you guys want to talk about? We didn't talk at all about the station. You kind of mentioned Odo having to relay the message, but again, I'm such a Deep Space Nine fanboy, obviously. I love the fact that even our side characters who we don't see much, Dax and O'Brien, get something to do. They're on the station figuring it out, and I love, and Christopher, you point out O'Brien's kind of becoming the engineer. He's like, let me see how long it takes me to make something, and Dax's like, do you know how to do that? He's like, well, I'll let you know as soon as I invent it.
I'll figure it out.
I'm like, yep, that's O'Brien.
That was nice character development for him. It was good to see him as something other than just, oh, there's a familiar face. And he was actually able to like take some of the meat of the story and go with it. And it made me like him a little bit more.
I wanted to ask you, I was admiring this. That's a pretty cool set as I look at it 30 years later. Did they destroy that set, or did it like take it apart?
I don't know. Well, so it was Stage 18. It actually gets called out on Memory Alpha, so they have a link. So Paramount Stage 18. I'm just going to read the Memory Alpha thing real quick. Paramount Stage 18 is located in the Paramount Pictures lot in Hollywood, California. It's noted for a number of famous productions, including Sunset Boulevard, Shane, Rear Window, and it was used temporarily for Deep Space Nine and also for Star Trek Insurrection. And it was used for the 4-year run on Enterprise. And it does not say what happened after. Well, let's see. Okay, May 27. And the 2009 Star Trek was filmed on Stage 18 as well. So yeah, I mean, it's still active, and it's got pretty deep history. But I think it really was utilized a lot for Enterprise more so than DS9.
I was not talking about the filming, I'm talking about the actual set. Did they put it in stores, or did it destroy like they did TNG, the first set? Anyway?
I don't know. But I will say, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of props and stuff get either thrown in the dumpster or get sold off. There's actually Red Letter Media is a group on YouTube that's fairly big, and they just bought a a panel from a starship that was sold at auction. Then the panel was so destroyed. It was just like a piece of plexiglass that was just messed up. But they bought it because no one else wanted it. So a lot of this stuff just gets thrown out, unfortunately. And by the way, newbies, don't go look up that because it's got a spoiler in the video about what they're doing. So that's why I said a starship and not something else. Nicole, did you have something you want to add?
Oh, I just wanted to also just kind of say I really liked that everybody had something to chew on in this episode. I kind of said it earlier, but like when you guys were talking about Dax and O'Brien and Odo, yeah, like we saw everybody except for
Jake and Quark.
Quark, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, everybody had like a good amount of work in this episode. So it was really fun to kind of see, Dax and O'Brien kind of figuring it out, Odo playing mediator, and like the creativity that they did on that moon to try to like stay alive and kind of figure out how to get out of there. And I really liked that we got a little bit of everyone and they all had substantial things to do, which you don't always get in every episode.
Yeah.
And we normally get at least like a little bit of the Quark and Odo show in each episode, and it wasn't there, and I didn't miss it because this episode had so much.
It just would not have been appropriate for that banter in this episode, I think. So I think it was really well done.
It's definitely a darker episode, that's for sure. A lot of people die. Even if they come back, a lot of people die.
Notice how we like the darkest episode the most?
Well, this is not the darkest episode of Deep Space Nine. There are several coming that are dark.
Oh, goody.
You just wait. Question I have, and some of you kind of already brought up the Null Ennis versus the Ennis a little bit, but for our newbies, I'm curious, and this is kind of a prediction. Do you think the Kai is going to be successful? Do you think that they can lay down their arms and find peace? And if you do, how long is it going to take?
A really freaking long time.
They've been fighting for a long time.
Would you like me to piss the entire listening audience off again?
I mean, it's either you or Christopher, so go for it.
When we talk about people who are fighting that don't even know why they're fighting anymore, just because they've been fighting for a really long time, I don't think that they're going to change because I think that that's what they've been doing. And I mean, you hope that they do, but people are people. Humans, I guess they weren't humans, but
Ennis are going to do what Ennis's do.
Penises do what penises do. I couldn't stop calling them penises. I'm sorry.
The Null Penises?
The Null Penis. I couldn't. Every time they said Ennis, I'm like,
just so confused right now.
Fine.
It's the Pen 15 Club.
It wouldn't be a day with Jessi here if she didn't say weird shit that made absolutely no sense to anybody else.
As the old sci-fi buff that I am, the one thing that really stuck to me, to your point, Jessi, where you said they don't remember why they started fighting. They've been fighting so long. That's a sci-fi trope for a lot of older sci-fi kind of empires. Like the one that always pops in my head is Isaac Asimov's Foundation. And the idea of Foundation is the entire galaxy has been colonized by humans, and it's so far in the distant future that they don't know where humankind came from. There are rumors of where they came from, but there's no real memory of it because it's so far long removed. So this is kind of something that I love, this kind of deep time stuff.
Scott, you mentioned it. How do you like Foundation, the TV show?
Wow. I mean, okay. I think the production value is really good. I think it's a quality looking show. I personally do not like, and Jessi's going to check out here for a second. I personally do not like the framing mechanism that they're doing, where some of these people get to sleep for a long time, or the Emperor is actually a clone, so he keeps coming back. That's not in the books. And the one thing that really, really annoyed the crap out of me in season 1 was one of the major characters is Salvador Hardin, who's the mayor of the Foundation for the first couple stories. And Salvador Hardin has a saying that he actually has framed in his office that says, "Violence is the last refuge for the ignorant." And that is a big quote. And for me to remember a quote says something, because I'm terrible at remembering quotes, but that one sticks with you. And Salvador Hardin in the show has a gun and she shoots at people. And I'm just like, so violence is the last refuge for the ignorant, huh? Cool. Excellent. Perfect. So yeah, I'll stick with the books. Thanks. How about you, Prentice? Have you watched the show?
Well, after that review, No, I have watched the show. I thought it's great production value. I have not read the books. I've only heard about the plot for the books, but for me, it's good sci-fi, at least for now.
Yeah. I would recommend, there's a lot of Foundation books, and the Isaac Asimov universe kind of ties in, like iRobot is tied into the Foundation and stuff. I would really recommend you just read the first Foundation book, which is actually, I think, 3 short stories that were published over the course of several decades that he put into one book. And that's where you get the first couple generations of the Foundation. And you see how that kind of, we leave characters behind, we move ahead, and we get new characters, and we see how they interact. And the whole point behind the books is Isaac Asimov loves to break his own rules. Like, he's the one who created the 3 rules of robotics, and he writes all his robot books saying how these 3 rules are stupid and they fall apart, and here's why. So in this one, the Foundation is built around the idea of, if you look at things in a sociological, psychological framework and ignore individuals, but just look at it as a civilization, you can predict what they're going to do for countless centuries down the road. And then the book says, yes, but. And that's the whole, all the stories, like, yes, but. It's a really good run. I think the other Foundation books, take them or leave them, depending on how you like them. But the first Foundation book is a good read. I enjoyed a lot.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Deep Space Nine part.
Usually Emily does the book talk. I like my old hard sci-fi. What can I say? Anything else you guys want to talk about with the episode itself and not Foundation?
So can we talk about whether it's ethical or not to put them out of their misery?
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about this, because like, they're like, I think we have a responsibility and this, that, and the other. But then as soon as he was like, yeah, give it to me because, we're going to use it to destroy the others, I'd have been like, yeah, no, we're done. You don't get that. And they did, right?
Yeah.
But what if they didn't say that? Do they have a responsibility to end their suffering? Are they suffering? Or have they gotten used to it? And do they just live with it and that's what their life is?
That's a very Star Trek-y question that gets asked a lot.
This is their first contact with these people.
Yeah.
And learning their civilization and their moral code. And I think you would have to have more conversation, but how hard is it to have that conversation if they're constantly at war? If you can't get them to put down the arms for 5 minutes and talk to one another about potentially having a ceasefire, how can you even talk about the larger questions of, is it morally right for us to be able to give them the ability to cure this, this thing that resurrects them all the time?
Well, that's what we do, Christopher. We're America. You want some freedom? Here's some freedom.
Yeah, because America should be. No, I don't even.
We don't have enough time for that. Yeah,
I don't have the energy. I don't have. I've had a baby keeping me up since 3 in the morning. I don't.
I just did it for the look that your head almost exploded. I appreciate it. Thank you for playing.
But I mean, Jessi, I think again that question gets asked a lot in other Trek as well too. Like Day of the Dove from the original series was absolutely kind of looked at when they were writing this script. The idea of Day of the Dove is you've got the Klingons and the humans, and they are forced to fight each other by this other entity, and they have to learn that you can't just continue to fight forever. There's another episode, and I'm blanking on the name right now, which annoys me, but 2 races have fought for so long that they actually use a computer to determine how many people die. Mm-hmm. So it's okay, you had a battle today and 100,000 people died on this side and 100,000 people died on this side, and they didn't fight at all, but now you have to kill 200,000 people.
You have to go and they get to the little chamber and poof.
Yeah, and I forgot the name of that episode, but it's kind of the same idea. And it definitely, I mean, original series came out right around Vietnam, so a lot of this stuff really ties into that as well too. Just the unending war that has no real premise. Nicole.
Well, what was striking too was they just didn't want to have these talks. They didn't want to make a change, and you can't force a leopard to change his spots, right? Or whatever that saying is. Like they have to be willing to talk it out and figure it out, And the moment that they said, "Oh, we could potentially change this," oh, great, we can destroy these other people. Like that was their first reaction. So I agree with Christopher on the fact that I think they need more information, maybe more contact, more visits, because the initial reaction was like they refused to talk to each other. When they tried to, they got into a fight. They don't want to change. And the minute it was brought up that they could have an antidote, the one side wanted to annihilate the other. So they were like, oh, this is self-serving for us. Great. It is a difficult question because, yeah, it's like morally, should we help them? But also, like, I kind of feel like you want to help yourself before anyone can help you.
Emily, it's an audio podcast. Would you like to put me on my misery and answer the
name of the episode is A Taste of Armageddon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Prentice, what do you got?
I was going to say, doesn't the Prime Directive prevent them from getting involved in that? So if they follow the rules of the Prime Directive, they would not have done anything in the first place to help those people.
Those people were not from their original planet, so you assume that they had faster than light travel. Once somebody has warp drive or other FTL, the Prime Directive no longer matters, right?
But they said we're not from this planet, right? So they got there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got there, which means that no longer does the Prime Directive really factor in, because you're not supposed to. Well, I don't know.
They do talk about that in TNG, where the Prime Directive is focused on pre-warp civilizations, and then it seems to get fuzzy once they have warp and how much you intervene.
And then if it's Janeway, she just doesn't care anyway.
Jessi's eyes glossing over right now.
Jessi, what would you like to add to the conversation about the Prime Directive?
Making sure I didn't like zone out at the wrong time and not know what the Prime Directive is, but it sounds like it's not something.
It's mentioned a couple times in the episodes we've seen so far, but the main idea of the Prime Directive is the Federation, specifically Starfleet, has a directive that you do not engage in any kind of civilization's decision making, especially if they are pre-warp society, which means they have not left their planet. So for example, there's a lot of like there's episodes where an asteroid is going to hit a planet of people who are like in medieval times. Okay, well, what do we do? Do we blast the asteroid? Do we not? Because if we blast it, then that's not what was supposed to happen to these people. And there's even like, what makes you think that if the asteroid hits, that it doesn't help and cause, the civilization to grow differently and stuff like that. So it's a thing. It's a thing.
Jesse, I call it the mind your business law.
Yeah.
It's the mind your business law. That's a simple way to explain it.
So yes, okay, that makes sense. But then therefore you would like become an anti-vaxxer and not have like vaccines.
That's actually an episode of Enterprise.
What would actually happen then?
Where Captain Archer is dealing with an issue where this group of this race has a disease, and there is no Prime Directive yet because Enterprise is a prequel, and they deal with the question of how does he handle it. And honestly, I think Archer handles it piss poorly in that episode.
Does he not help them?
He does, but not well.
This reminds me of the episode where
a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, Christopher's watched it sooner than I have. I don't really remember the main parts of the episode, but that's definitely an episode that deals with literally like vaccines.
This is like the episode where Franklin saved the kid and his parents like disowned him because they said that his
parents murdered him.
Yes. Okay. Good talk, guys.
Wait, what show was this? What?
Yes,
Babylon
the child murder
Babylon
episode.
Yeah, the kid had a disease that Franklin could easily fix, but the family said no because it's like the people who don't believe that you should receive blood if you need it or like stuff like that.
As witnesses.
I didn't want to call anybody out by name, but yeah.
I will.
Christian Scientists, same idea.
Scientology, yay, fun. Anyway,
well, Scientology is completely different.
Okay,
they have Xenu.
Just cover my bases here. No, but so basically, it was just like God's will that he was going to die, but Franklin saved him, and then they disowned the kid, and then they killed him.
Yeah, well, and that was that on that episode. JMS actually said that he wrote that episode of Babylon 5 to be the anti-Star Trek because usually the kid makes it. That one didn't.
Yeah, no, none of the kids made it. Spoiler alert: if you see a kid on Babylon 5, it's gonna die.
That episode of Enterprise was Dear Doctor, is the one where Archer has to decide if he gives the cure to the race or not.
Well, I won't be watching that one.
Okay, good talk. Let's go ahead and move on to our questions and predictions. For those who are just joining us for the first time, our newbies have not watched past Battle Line, so we asked them if they have any lingering questions or if they have any predictions. Nicole, you already had a couple, so we'll go to you first. Nicole, questions, predictions.
I actually did have another question. So when they crash landed on that moon or planet or whatever, did they not have weapons with them?
They had phasers because they used them. Yeah.
And I assume that they got taken by the cave people, essentially. Okay. Because I was like, I'm sorry, but I would not go exploring without a weapon. So I thought maybe, am I crazy or did they not have them? But then I assume they probably got taken away because they took the medical bag too, right?
Yeah, because somebody, I can't remember who, somebody shoots.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He uses a phaser and shoots him.
Okay. So they did have weapons. Okay. I know that was kind of a dumb question, but I didn't remember seeing them.
And I'm glad you brought up, because this is another little reference I forgot to mention, is the way the runabout crashed. It reminded me so much of another episode of original series Galileo 7, that shuttle just kind of sitting there. And actually, because of budget, if you watch that episode again, this one, the runabout has a TNG warp nacelle because they could not build a runabout warp nacelle in the budget they had. So they just stole it from TNG, stuck it there, and like, no one will notice. It's the same shuttlecraft. No one will notice.
That's funny. I think that was it for my questions. I guess a prediction. I like I said earlier, I think that Kira has kind of had an epiphany and maybe hit a turning point. So I feel like we're going to see different sides of Kira, and we're going to see her kind of develop as she hopefully heals and kind of accepts who she is so she can move forward. But I don't know if that's a prediction or my hope, because I want to kind of see more of that story.
Jessi, questions, predictions?
No.
Nope. You'll have some soon, I promise.
Okay. Well, whenever we get there, let me know.
Christopher.
So my questions are, what is the importance of the necklace that Kai gave to O'Brien's daughter? And
she's definitely, O'Brien, you seem like a daddy. Here, have this necklace.
Right. And why O'Brien?
Because he has daddy vibes. That's all I got.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Daddy Bob? Okay.
No,
He's a daddy.
He just act like we didn't hear it. Move on.
Oh, come on. Paul Meany definitely has daddy vibes.
Oh, yeah. He's a zaddy. I'm calling it now.
How else would he get Keiko? Come on.
That's right. Keiko, personality aside, Keiko is way out of his league.
Okay, what's your other question, Christopher?
I'm done.
Yeah.
No, come on, you had at least one more.
I'm sorry I ruined you, Christopher. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
She's not sorry.
When he rolls up his sleeves on his uniform to start working on the engines and stuff, he's definitely okay.
So is there something you need to tell us, Scott?
Oh, no, I'm good. I just love O'Brien.
I do too.
All right.
Love is love, Christopher. Don't.
Hey, I just want Scott to be his authentic self.
Oh, okay. Well, we're all on a spectrum, and my spectrum leans towards O'Brien. There you go.
Not mad. Not mad at
I
all.
support it, Scott. I'm with you on that.
Dax is my thing.
I don't
So we're moving on.
But okay.
It's the accent, Christopher, is really what it does for me. It's just like, oh, hello.
It's okay. The next week's episode, if Nicole doesn't ship somebody, I'll be impressed.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Any other questions, predictions from our newbies before we kick them out the airlock or leave them on a moon somewhere?
Please just shut the fuck up and let's go home.
Okay.
Don't put me on the moon where I keep resurrecting. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, Jessi would like me to move on, so we'll go ahead and finish this up. Again, reminder to like, subscribe, follow, check all of those social media links and join the conversation over there, and leave us a review. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week to discuss The Storyteller, and if you want to hear our spoiler conversation, stick around. And if you have not watched past this, this is where you leave. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no. And until next week, I've been Scott, because I can't remember shit. I've been Scott, and with me has been
Emily.
Christopher.
Prentice.
Nicole.
Jessi.
I blame the stroke brain. Good night.
Emily, you want to see my dick pic?
What?
I love it.
Unsolicited dick pic. You're welcome.
Okay,
This is
context is
I'm coloring.
king. Jessi has a dick coloring book that was given to her by Emily, and
It's the Big Adventures of Tiny Dick?
Yep.
Yes.
and by the way, the cover has a very small penis riding a unicorn.
It's epic.
You're all well.
Oh, man.
Jessi.
He's camping.
Man, commercial.
Jessi, you need to post these to our Facebook because
He's on the beach.
yeah, you definitely need to post some of these to Facebooks. Post your artwork.
Or our Patreon.
Also post on the Discord. because
Yeah, that's right. Do the
Get taken
Patreon.
down from.
That's true.
He's in
That's
a
true.
summer.
If you would like to see Jessi's artwork, join our Patreon and you'll see it over there.
That's my favorite one, the space one.
Spaceballs.
The balls have an astronaut suit. Okay, let's move on. Thanks,
right.
guys.
Bye-bye. I found the leave button.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to the Celestial Temple, or whatever the hell we're calling it this week. This is our spoiler section, so if you have not watched past battle lines, or you just don't remember what happens next, you should go ahead and leave now. If not, we'll go ahead and start discussing the questions and predictions from our newbies, minus Jessi, because she has no questions ever. But she will start having some, I hope. Not next week, but soon. Emily, what do we got from the newbies?
All right, so where do we want to start? Let's start with Christopher's question, because it may be easiest to answer. What is the importance of the necklace Opaka gives to O'Brien? We don't know.
No, it's never referenced again. Although in a novel it is brought up, and it's still not like, it's just kind of like, oh, Molly has this necklace from the Kai. It's never really given any kind of stuff.
I thought it was kind of like, if she was expecting to not come back, like, why keep it?
And you know, it's interesting because Molly has an interesting story herself. So I wonder if any prophecies were related to Molly, because, well, there's a couple different Mollys depending on what time frame you're in. So
yes,
but yeah, we never really hear anything more about it. I think to your point, it was another red herring, like a couple of them, that the Kai did not expect to come back. Like, she wanted to see the wormhole, she wanted to explore, she knew her time was up,
and it kind of doesn't make it obvious. It just seems like a really kind gesture coming from her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have a daughter, here you go. Okay, and then Nicole, will we see Opaka again?
Yeah, we see her in a couple of visions when we have prophet conversations. She shows up a couple times, and I think part of the reason, don't quote me on this, but I believe the actress was available a couple times to come back, but was not readily available, so they couldn't bring her back too much. But we do see her again in vision form.
Yeah,
we don't get any wrap up on this story, or the Kai story, on Deep Space Nine. Now there are some novels that bring up this actual story again, and we do see in the novels that they go back to this location, and the Kai has worked to bring peace. And then I think actually Star Trek Online has a storyline on this where the Kai actually has converted the Null S and the S to the Bajoran religion, and they worship the prophets now.
That'd be cool.
To do with Star Trek Online, have you played that game? Is it actually fun?
It's got a lot of fans, and I enjoy some of the stories, but I am not an open world guy. I'm just not the person to ask for that, because I mean, I was one of the beta testers back when Star Trek Online came out, and even then I was like walking around and I was like, this is weird, because like the bridges are huge because it's built on an engine that doesn't really work for Star Trek. And my biggest issue with open world and MMORPGs in total is I hate grinding. And Star Trek Online, like any other game like that, you got to grind to get the best equipment. If you want to have a really cool starship, you're going to have to go buy it and stuff like that. But from this, I think I played like the first quote unquote season, and it was a good story. It's just, it was so freaking much to get into that I never really got into it a lot. But I know a lot of people like it. It's been going on for a long time. And it's the reason why we have the Enterprise F from Picard season 3. That was straight out of Star Trek Online, the Odyssey class. So they definitely do a lot of different stuff.
Who gets the copyright to that ship? They used it in Picard season 3, but
Yeah.
was it a fan that made that ship?
It was fan made because Star Trek Online had a contest where they were going to introduce the Enterprise F, and a fan design was picked, and this was the one that picked. And I think if I remember right, he was, given accolades, but part of the competition was you do not own the rights to this ship. And so Picard season 3, specifically Terry Metalis, was able to use that ship. And instead of going out and designing a brand new one, they used the Odyssey class. And I think they did give like the designer again recognition. And I think again, I'm just kind of talking based on recollection. So if somebody in the comments, please feel free to tell me I'm wrong. But I think that he has designed other ships after that for Star Trek.
That's some good background. Thank you.
The Odyssey class ship is interesting. It's
Why do you
big.
say that?
It's just big. I also have never liked the idea of having like big holes in your ship. It's the same thing with the Cerritos and Lower Decks. Like the secondary hull is not attached to the bridge at all. It's just kind of there. And the Odyssey class is kind of the same idea. It's got like a big hole in the middle of it. I'm like, aesthetically, I don't like that, but that's just me.
Alrighty. So Nicole had a prediction of seeing Kira evolve more and like her personality.
Prentice, I'm gonna ignore Emily for 1 second. You gotta know our background here. Mike and I, who Mike's not here this week, he's off in Greece, but Mike and I would sit around in high school and write out how many starship classes we could come up with, like from memory. Like, oh, Nebula class, Galaxy class, Saratoga class. And so Mike and I are a bit of starship nerds. Just saying. It's a conversation for another day. Conversation for another day. I mean, I do have some 3D printed ships that I made because I'm a nerd. Eagle Moss did them for a while, and now it's Fan Home. And one of these days when I have disposable income, I want to buy all the Enterprises from one of those sets. But that's why I 3D printed them, because those are a lot cheaper than buying from Fan Home. Look at that Galaxy class. She pretty. Hey, Emily, you can go ahead and ask your question again now. We're done doing starship porn for now.
Thank you. So it wasn't actually a question, but Nicole had a prediction about seeing changes or like an evolution in Kira, which I can't wait until the Cardassians come back and she's working with them.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, it's not an on-off switch, right? This is what in any other show, and I'm not just bashing on Trek here. In any other show from the 90s, it would be an on-off switch. Okay, Kira is this or Kira is that. But we see a progression for 7 years. In a couple weeks, we're going to have an episode called Progress, where she deals with a farmer who refuses to leave his farm, and she has to, spoilers, burn it down because she knows that he will not survive. So she has to deal with a lot of stuff. And I think I'm glad Jessi brought it up. The line that the Kai said is you have to accept it. Not that you have to forgive yourself. You have to accept it. And we see that. And she becomes a freedom fighter again. And you're right. She actually works with Revolutionary Damar and helps to free the Cardassians from the Founders.
Yeah.
So,
and her character arc, I feel like, is so complex.
Yeah.
It's really a great story. And one of the reasons why I love the show so much, and it's gonna be a long time before we get there, but when Zial gets to the station and how like that dynamic, and you can see the struggle of like how much she cares for Zial and absolutely fucking hates her dad, as she should. She has very, very valid reasons for her abhorrence of him.
Oh man, the Zial storyline is rough. Oh
yeah.
Rough. Another thing that in this episode we didn't get told, but they said the former Praetor or whatever the title was had files on Kira. That's Gul Dukat. He was the former leader of Terok Nor. So, and as we know, we'll find out later on, Gul Dukat's a little bit creepy when it comes to Kira.
Yeah, I still find it funny she was labeled as a minor operative. And like the funniest part to me though is that I understand why she is so angry because she's holding all that like violence of everything she fought for, and to be deemed a minor operative was so just like soul crushingly offensive.
Yeah.
Like that's all you thought of me after everything I've done.
Well, I think it ties in well with the conversation with the Ennis and the null Ennis too, is the Kai is the perfect person to kind of find a way to get to peace, because she's not going to tell them you have to, lay down arms and just sing kumbaya. She said, you got to accept that the fact that you guys want to kill each other, and then we got to figure out where we go from here.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Kira, and it's a great arc. I love it. And at the end, she'll be Colonel Kira.
But nobody asked about a new Kai. Like the Kai's now dead, kind of, sort of on another planet.
I mean, Christopher did bring up, and Prentice, you did really well in navigating that one, where he's like, okay, so what's Bajor going to do now that the Kai is dead? Well, it's going to be a whole thing. Vedic Barial's going to be around, and Vedic Wynn's going to be around.
Okay, why didn't he put that in his question section?
What?
He did not put that in his question predictions.
So you got to be taking notes throughout, man. You got.
Well, I try, but sometimes I get distracted.
You're buying stuff on Amazon. I know you.
I do not shop on Amazon anymore.
You shop other places?
It was planner stuff. I like planners and stickers because my 80s heart has not gotten over the sticker love.
You just have a Trapper Keeper for everything?
I do have a Trapper Keeper for PTO stuff for my son's school. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So it's going to be a long process, and we will see that. I think the first time we'll see it really is the season finale in the hands of the prophets, when Vedic Wynn comes and uses Keiko's school as a political pawn.
Space Karen.
But it's going to be a while before we get Kai Wynn, because Vedic Barial, who is Kira's love interest, will be around for quite a few seasons, and he is assumed to be the next Kai until he dies. And then Kai Wynn Vedic Wynn takes over as Kai.
When do we have our first Mirror Universe episode?
Ooh, question.
It's fun because seeing Kira play the crazy dynamic for the actress.
I'm sorry, I just season 2 is crossover. That's the first one.
Okay.
And then season 3 is Through the Looking Glass.
Damn, Google let me down.
I know. And then season 4 Shattered Mirror. Season 6 is Resurrection. That's when Vedic Barial comes back as his mirror counterpart. And then the last one is The Emperor's New Cloak, Rengi episode.
Which episode? I forget the name of it. My favorite Mirror Universe episode was Worf commanding the Klingon ship and Garrett being his pet changes the bridge of the ship. That was the best.
Emperor's New Cloak. Yes. Regent Worf. The Negasek is captured by Regent Worf. And yeah, Garrick is just a little peon. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, we'll talk more about this when we get to the Mirror Universe episodes, but the whole point of Mirror Mirror was Kirk talked Spock into trying to change things. And we find out that he failed. And not only did he fail, but the human race is now subjected to being basically trash. So sorry, Spock, Mirror Spock, your goatee was not powerful.
He was successful. He convinced them to be peaceful. That's why they got conquered, right?
Yeah, that's his whole point. I mean, yeah, I was like, the Mirror Universe doesn't work when it comes to peace. I mean, just look at Section 31. It's terrible.
Talk about taking a good thing and turning it into hot, flaming garbage. That's my gosh.
The first episode for the Mirror Universe is crossover, and the overview is Dr. Bashir and Major Kira are transported to the Mirror Universe 100 years after the events of Mirror Mirror. They find that the Terran Empire has fallen and been replaced by the alliance of Klingons, Cardassians, and Bajorans, and that humans are slaves. Kira is a dom. I added that last part, but she definitely is. Oh, and when Kira and Ezri,
well, that's pretty good too.
I'm just gonna lay that one on the table and leave it until season 7.
One of the best Enterprise episodes was in Mirror Universe.
In Amir Darkly, yes.
To Paul and Hoshi and their fight.
Don't you mean Emperor Hoshi?
Yeah, Emperor Hoshi Sato. That was the funniest dialogue between the two of them as they were fighting in midriffs and impractical gear on the Enterprise. That was a funny episode.
It's interesting to me that the TNG never did a mirror episode. I mean, there's some novels about it, but yeah, TNG never did it. DS9 had to come along to say, let's go back to this one. Let's have fun with this.
They got close to it with yesterday's Enterprise, but you're right. They never did.
Yeah, and wasn't the other one where like there's like a whole bunch of Enterprises and like Riker is fighting the Borg with one of them and he wants to commit suicide because the Borg are everywhere. What is that?
Yeah, Worf was returning from a bat-left tournament and he hit a pocket of subspace.
Yes.
Parallels?
Parallels. Thank you.
That makes sense. Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we've nerded out enough for tonight. Next week, we will have the first Bashir O'Brien episode of Deep Space Nine. And I've already said this in the season finale, a series finale, What You Leave Behind. The Odo Kira stuff gets me. But really, the stuff that truly gets me is Bashir and O'Brien saying goodbye to each other. And we get to see the starting of this friendship in this episode. Even though it's not a good episode, I do appreciate it for the fact that it is the start of the Bashir O'Brien bromance.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that next week. So again, reminder to like, subscribe, follow, and leave us a review if you could. And if you want to talk spoilers with us, join our Patreon and you can get into our Discord. Any level on the Patreon will get you access to our spoiler Discord, where today we were talking about some episodes that are coming up and the season 1 in total and how it kind of shapes up. And so we'll just continue having those conversations on our Discord. So join us over there as well. So until next week, when we talk about alien ghosts that like storytelling, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Emily.
Prentice.
And no sex with ghosts this time. That's only when Dr. Crusher's around. That's all I got. I had to do something with the penis pics, so I was just like, okay, ghost sex. That's what I got.
We're not Pornhub. We got to make sure people don't think that we are. Stop mentioning that stuff.
I want a cease and desist from Pornhub again. That was a highlight of my life. So I think what we need to do is we need to make Mornhub shirts.
Pornhub.
Mornhub.
Okay, yeah.
And like on like the graphic, you have like the little 3 or 4 hairs on the top of Morn's head. We can make this happen. And I want to get sued. That's what I want.
Okay, well, as long as you're going to cover those costs, because not my budget.
Will not be the first time I got a cease and desist from Pornhub.
Here we go.
Well, as long as you have goals in life.
Life goals. Hashtag. Okay, folks. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Appreciate it. Bye.
I don't want you to have the wrong impression of me, Opaka.
Just what impression do you think I have?
Did I enjoy any of this?